The Building Better Relationships Journal and Meditation. We created the Building Better Relationships Journal and Meditation so you can magnetize the better relationships you want and focus on the positive role that you have in creating a better life through your relationships. We are excited for you to discover the gold within you that can help you manifest the love we all crave. The Building Better Relationships Journal has coaching questions that help you listen to the truth of what you want and what helps you to be empowered in love. The Building Better Relationships meditation is designed to strengthen your heart's ability to be that change you wish to see in the world. Why not download it now and think of it as a gift to those you love? If you love journaling and meditation, this is for you. Welcome to Building Better Relationships at Home and at Work with Angela and Patti podcast. This is Patti, a leadership and work-life balance coach from Arizona, USA.
And this is Angela, love and relationship coach from Sydney, Australia. And we are building better relationships with you.
Sharing new perspectives on being heart-centered at home and at work.
So you can draw on your inner power to make your relationships and the world a better place to be around.
Hi, Patti.
Hi, Angela. Well, we're here for another Building Better Relationships at Home and at Work with Angela and Patti episode. And our episodes are about helping you build healthier and be more aware of your relationships at home and at work. Have you ever reacted strongly to a situation and later wondered why it felt so intense? Well, I know that's happened to me, and I've been there and done that. What about you? Have you been in a situation where later you wondered how this actually happened? What the heck? Why did it get so intense? What about you, Angela?
Oh, I can think of a few. I think of those heightened moments stay in your limbic brain and in your body as well. And so today we're going to look at how the body remembers the fight, how old patterns shape new conflict. We do have a few episodes about family dynamics, but in this one we're looking at the frame of the body and how the body remembers that old family dynamic. So does it ever feel like your body reacts before your mind can catch up? That's the memory I have of when you describe that intense thing that happens in the conflict and you're like, oh God, why did I do that? I wish I hadn't done that.
Or or said that or reacted the way it did, or and your body just, sometimes will be trembling because it's so intense.
And do you replay like, what was I doing? Like,
how did I get there?
React? Yeah. And where did that come from?
Definitely.
Today we're going to look at how our body and our nervous system responds to conflict. And this might be a clue. Well, it is actually where it comes from. To where does this thing out of nowhere come from? It comes from how we get conditioned in our families to conflict and in our society as well. I'm going to look mostly at the family, but of course our societies, our culture, our country all have influences on the family. And in last episode 93, we also looked at overwhelmed inside, guarded outside, and the intimacy disconnect, and we looked at how the nervous system might be flooded. But today we're looking more at how the body responds to conflict in our lives and why we're not in control of our responses, and also some tips on what to do when you feel out of control by listening and observing your feelings so that you stop judging yourself. If anything in 2026 can be a year of stopping judgment, that's my hope and my prayer for everyone and for myself. So if you keep judging yourself when you do react as bad, that's not going to help the situation. So we can start to learn how to approach our patterns in conflict or in reaction to conflict with more compassion and awareness and even humor. I've used humor a lot to deflect conflict, but I think it's useful in managing my judgment about my reaction to conflict to give you one specific tool later you can use in watching your patterns, and also a few reflection questions and an affirmation as well when you watch your patterns of your body's response to conflict to help you become a master of managing conflict by connecting to your body. Let's just start with, have you ever noticed when there is tension or conflict in your life, how your body has responded? Patti, I'm just wondering if you've noticed that, where in your body or how your body has responded when there is conflict.
For me, I get tension in my neck and in my back, especially my middle back. That's where I can feel the tension, sometimes in my shoulders as well. My husband actually said to me the other day, "You're walking around with your shoulders up." Yeah. I'm like, he goes, "What's bothering you?" And I'm like, I didn't know anything was bothering me, but I guess I was doing it. That's kind of
Interesting.
where tension is for me. And I notice it when I'm under a lot of stress. That's where the tension goes for me.
Can you share on how that might be in moments where you've had that intense reaction? What did you notice in your body then? In the moment of intense reactions, like this was a great example because your partner can see you're carrying it through your daily life.
Yeah.
What have you
Yeah.
noticed in a maybe intense reaction moment, maybe after
Yeah.
the event?
So, some other examples, you may feel instantly defensive or you shut down and avoid the conflict. A small disagreement may feel much bigger than it actually should or than the moment calls for. Sometimes, after years of pent up emotion, the feelings that come out in a small disagreement become huge because of years of pushing it down. That's when the harsh words come out and voices rise, and keeping it together just went out the door. And people wonder why. What happened? Because this is out of your character, but you just lose it. And people wonder why. Because you've been carrying it for so long that you just it erupts. I know that's happened to me.
I don't want to stereotype Taurians, but both Patti and I are Tauruses, and I'm telling you, people think we're just like a happy cow chewing our grass, and then when we lose it, they're like, "What
We
happened?"
lose
And
it.
that's the bull in the china shop. It's coming out. So slow and steady most of the time, but then when we lose it good.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What?" Yeah.
And we didn't hold back.
Yeah. We're gonna do it good. So I mean, we can laugh and we're older so we can see our patterns, but you might be younger and you might not recognize your patterns. With time, your family will also give feedback on your patterns. So part of it is noticing the pattern, and they're all clues about how the body has programmed a response to conflict from our past, from our childhood. It can be our young adulthood, it can be our work environments, it can be big experiences. So if we can learn to listen to our body and how it programs our reactions to conflict or a fear of conflict, then we can have a few keys to unlocking how to support ourselves to deal with the conflict and to face new conflicts. And also, what I'm hearing, to face, if we do have an explosion, how to come back from that instead of beating ourselves up. So now we're going to explore what's happening beneath the pattern of conflict. The title of our podcast is The Body Remembers the Fight. So there is a famous book by Bessel van der Kolk called The Body Keeps a Score, and he's looking at trauma responses and how children store trauma in the body. One significant part of trauma is how our nervous system responds to threat and conflict or perceived conflict. So it may not be that your parents are yelling at all the time, even though that's some of us. It can be, for example, in my childhood, my parents were quite vocal and yelly type people, but sometimes they weren't fighting, but because of the sound and tone of their voice, they were Sicilians, they were screaming a lot. So I thought they were fighting when often they weren't. They were just saying, pass the salt, or what are you doing for dinner? They were doing but my lack of understanding of the language and just hearing the sound before I was really fluent in any language, I perceived a threat. What happens in those events when the child perceives there's a potential threat in the nervous system, we put emotional imprints on the body to perceive threats. So if you have a later conflict in life, which we always will have later conflicts, the old nervous system from our childhood conditioning is there just waiting for potential threats. And we, like your examples in the beginning were really good, Patti. Like you've learnt how to push everything down. So through our socialization and culture, we learn how to put down the crazy Sicilian. In my example, I had to learn how to be in an Australian culture, and the crazy Sicilian was permissible in some environments, but not in the regular culture. So I learned how to suppress that. But at other times, my crazy Sicilian comes out. Conflict also is deeply unique and personal to our nervous system. It's unique to your family conditioning, your family ways of communicating. I'm going to give an example here, Patti, and you might have another example. But this one I found really interesting because it shows you how I've conditioned from my family certain perceptions about potential conflict. So the example is I wake up in the morning and I have an idea, let's go to the beach. It's a perfect beach day and I feel a bit cooped up in my body and I really want to go. I'm really excited to go and I share it with my partner, but he says, no, I don't want to go. I don't care what you want to do. I don't want to go. And I can tell he's very serious about not going. He doesn't want to drive. He doesn't want to go. Instead of me thinking, oh, well, let's put that to another day, I immediately get upset and a story starts in my head because we had said we were going to go the previous day. I start thinking we would go, and when I want to go, you don't want to go. When I want to do something, you push against me. We only do things that you want to do. So I start with all the stories. And you won't do things when I want to do it unless it makes you feel good. You won't do things that make me happy. So I've got this series of stories, which fortunately, because of my family, I'm very aware of, because it's exactly the same story I would have had as a child. My parents are upset. They don't want to do something I want to do. And we only do things that make my parents happy. One part of me, in response to my partner in the current day, starts to get upset because of the old story. But another part of me starts to make jokes. And I describe this behavior as fawning. So, Patti, I wondered, because you were saying that word was, you weren't so experienced with that word fawning. What did you understand about your understanding of fawning? What's that sort of behavior?
When you said making jokes and things like that, I thought of the class clown, the person that is always making funny jokes and is silly and changes the mood and the atmosphere in the classroom or at work or at a family function or at a party. And that's what I thought fawning might be from the way that it was described. But I had never heard of it before with that word, Bonnie.
It's a new word. Yeah, it's a new word that's been put around the trauma circuit because there's 3 nervous system responses. One is avoidance, like get out of here because I can't handle it. And one is fight back, like yell at my partner, no, blah, 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 which a part of me
Explode.
was wanting to do because I was feeling the upset. One is explode, which is a fight response. And the other one is a freeze response where you just sort of go numb and shut down. And we explored a little bit about intimacy disconnect in our episode 93 about that, how that shut after you get a strong response, the nervous system shuts down. So fawning is one of those things that you said, like the class clown. We learn how instead of expressing anger or running away, a lot of kids don't run away and they're trying to deflect or diffuse a situation. And one of the comics that is really good at explaining this is Trevor Noah. If you look it up, he describes when he was a child, he could feel tension in the room because his stepfather was abusing his mother. At any moment, he could fly off. And he could feel it in the room, and he would start to make distractions and jokes and be a little clown to diffuse the conflict in the room. The one example of fawning in my case can be, instead of expressing anger, I'll start making jokes and going, oh, but you really do want to go to the beach. I know you do. And so it was a good way for me, instead of exploding that time, to just start making jokes. But I was really upset. So I could feel the upset and I could feel my anger rising up. So here's where the old family dynamics are resurfacing. Instead of me being able to freely express my anger in the family, because when I did that, I got told I was a bad person, I start to make jokes. I start to fawn. And also I start to try to make his resistance or his sense of not wanting to do anything light. I start to make jokes about it. So underneath that frustration in my body, there's a lot of memory about my childhood when my parents said no because they were tired or busy. I could feel every time I wanted to do something, my parents were busy. My parents were saying no. So anytime I wanted to do something, there was always a no. And there's a lot of upset and hurt and frustration about that. So my response in childhood was to give up asking. And in order to handle my frustration, I would make jokes. So what was different with my partner this time, the new conflict, was firstly I could see, I'm just angry because when I was a child, it was always no. But because I could see my frustration and feel his definite no, wasn't a rejection of me, it was just, he just was too tired and he will not be in the mood to go to the beach. I didn't have to come from anger. But if I didn't see that my anger was connected to my past, or my frustration, which was repressed anger, was connected to my family's past, no, I'm too tired, I could have really exploded in that moment. And the main way to see the old dynamics is to see how my body responds. So I was watching that whole time how I was making jokes, and I thought, why are you making jokes? And I could feel this frustration in my body. It was pent up, and it was like I was really, really wanting to get out of the house, but I kept on diffusing the energy by making the jokes. It could be something you relate to as well. You might also, at the beginning of the episode, we're talking about situations where you do explode because your body has that pent up memory from the past and it doesn't know how to control it. But you also may notice other signals in your body when somebody pushes back, or when you feel like there's a potential disagreement in the room. You feel like someone's going to push against what you want. And these are all really powerful things that we experience when we're at about 2 to 3 years of age. We'll start feeling that I want to do this, and we'll start feeling somebody pushing back against us as a threat to us. So every human has these conditioned responses. Some of us learn, like I did, to fawn. some of us learn how sometimes you can't fawn and you just want to explode. And it's all about how when you explode in your family context, whether they push you down for exploding, whether they made you the bad person for that, or how did you recover from the explosion. So now we're going to switch from the home environment to the work environment with Patti. Yeah, I was just going to look at what's really going on under that
Yeah.
pattern of conflict.
What are some of the signs when at work? So, say you're getting feedback from your boss or coworker, and it feels like criticism instead of advice or a suggestion. You start to brace yourself, or you go into the what if scenarios for possible situations before they actually happen. So here's some examples. Your manager asks you for an update on a project, and your body reacts with tension or defensiveness. Even though the request is reasonable, they just want to know how you're doing on the project. But you're taking it as they're questioning you or you're doing something wrong, or but all they want to know is how you doing and maybe if you need any help. Receiving feedback feels personal or shaming even when it's neutral. You immediately brace yourself for the worst in a meeting with leadership instead of going in there and it could be something wonderful. They could be acknowledging you for something that you did good, but you're thinking the worst is going to happen instead of that it might be something great. You feel the urge to justify or over explain or prove your value because you're afraid of being criticized. You shut down or become overly agreeable to avoid conflict. What's often happening is your nervous system remembers earlier experiences with others, like Angela has talked about, where it felt unsafe, unpredictable, or unfair. We often don't realize how quickly our past comes back up instead of being in the present moment. So, those are some of the things that show up maybe in the workplace when you're feeling that way.
It's fascinating to see how the workplace is like a playground.
Yes.
Like our family is like the workshop and where you're crafted, and then they throw you into the work environment. It's like, here, see what you can do with what we've given you.
And everybody else has a different past experience or grown up differently, and you're mixing all these people together, and everybody's got different ways they handle things, and you're trying to maneuver those personalities and triggers.
Yeah, I think it's just like, I know you do leadership coaching, but sometimes it just feels like a parent trying to manage all these different conflict styles, whether someone's conflict avoidant or the fawning behavior or the aggressive type behavior or the freeze behavior, or as we've looked at in one of our episodes, the quietly quitting, the sort of checking out behavior, which has become a very common response in the workplace where people just check out because they don't want
Yeah.
to deal with anything. So now we're going to look at a little bit more. I've already addressed some of the reasons why these old patterns shape new conflicts. So I'm just going to review them so we can see how, if we're looking at why these patterns shape new conflict, how that might help us to be more compassionate or more gentle with the way we approach our bodies. Because if you can listen to the body, which is not hard when we're in the intensity of conflict or we're in the impulse reaction to the conflict. So it really will take a practice of listening, and that's the tool I'm going to share today of how to start listening to your body. Why our old patterns shape new conflict is that it's all learned responses from our past relationships or childhood, as Patti and I have mentioned. And Patti also mentioned that in the office, everybody's grown up differently. So each individual child reacts uniquely to conflict, whether it's at home or at work. It's very hard to predict or to know how you will have been programmed, because each of us have so many different moments in our lives that pattern the nervous system and that go into the nervous system. So there's three major responses, but now today we're introducing that fourth response of fawning, which a lot of people may overlook, but it's a lot to do with fawning is a lot to do with our social expectations of how we should be, and our fear of that will be judged if we behave differently to what we think we should be. And it's sometimes the hardest one to work with because we beat ourselves up the most with our fawning or lack of ability to, as I mentioned in my example, I was able to suppress my anger by releasing it through jokes and by deflecting the energy within myself, but also for my partner. So the main responses are the freeze response, which is where you go shut down and go silent, the flight response, which is where you leave the room or you leave your body. So if there's conflict around you, some people actually go into fantasy. They go into not listening, and literally they're just on their phones or they're in their little fantasy world, disconnected. The third response is a fight response, where we yell or physically respond aggressively, and we might bang things or just explode through yelling or verbal expression. And the fourth is that fawn response, which is playing cute or appeasing others, trying to say nice things to the person, trying to tone down what you're saying. And each of these responses are all things that we can do, but we have a tendency to use one or the other. The Gottmans, John Gottman and Judy Gottman, have lots of work on this about our conflict styles in relationship. So if you start to see that you have a certain style in your relationship, today for this topic about understanding the old patterns, it's not trying to tame the animal or the beast of your conflict style. It's to see, when you were growing up, what were the people's reactions to your style of responding to conflict or to your own sense of frustration and anger? Were you taught that it was not safe when there was a conflict, or that you were wrong, that you should shut up or stay quiet? What was the response in the old pattern to your response to conflict? If you can remember the memories around that, that will give you a lot of important clues now about how you beat yourself up when you explode, or also how you deal with your frustration or someone else expressing their anger. And this is where I've worked a lot with people. There can be a significant event in your life. It can be not in early childhood, it can be in your teen years, it can be when you're in your 20s, but it's how you were told that you should or shouldn't be. And that can then flavour the way you respond to conflict for the rest of your life. So from those significant events or conditioned events from many events, from our families and our school and our country, our community, we can form habits. And those habits are about how we anticipate potential conflict and how we think we should respond to the conflict. So that's where we create those circular thoughts that I gave you an example of my own before, when my partner said no to me. So I feel like the most important piece is in my work, it's, can you listen to your body when it feels tension? So this is tension before the explosion. When we're in the explosion, I'm not listening to anything or anyone. I'm in the explosion. So if you can listen to your body when it feels tension, like you were sharing before, Patti, how your partner could say, oh, your body's like this, and they tell you what they see in your body. This is a great tool if you live with someone to help them mirror that back to you. And then how can you start to listen to the tension in your body? if you can start to be aware of these points of tension, they can be very helpful. When it comes to conflict, can you notice if your body flies away? Do you get busy? Do you get distracted? And tell yourself that it's not bad if you're distracted, because a lot of people, not just neurodiverse people, but people in many responses to their conditioning from their childhood, learn to be distracted. And noticing that you're distracted, that's a great place to start. Gently start noticing what are your learnt behaviors in relation to conflict or feelings of fear about potential conflict. All of us have these body cues, and those are what keep us safe and allow us to start managing that reaction to the conflict. So, any thoughts about anything I've just shared there, Patti? Anything coming up?
I think that's good advice, that you notice how your body is reacting and feeling. If you're noticing it, then you have the tools to change the outcome that might be coming. I think it's being aware. And a lot of times we don't take that time to be aware. We're just in that moment and not really reflecting at all about how we're feeling. Our body's giving us clues, but we're not acknowledging them.
So, we're going to look at some gentle solutions to start seeing the old pattern and managing it. My question on what you just shared, Patti, is what stops us from being able to just slow down and check in with what we're feeling? What do you think
That's
stops us doing that?
that's a good question. Very good question, because I think we're so busy that we're not slowing down to take time to really listen. Listen to our body, listen to ourselves, listen to others, because we're go, 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 go. And, but then again, it could be in many things that we just aren't aware. We're not trained to be aware. We don't know how to be aware, all of those different things. And when I say trained, maybe never taught to be aware that your body's giving you signals.
Hmm.
I mean, look at people in burnout. Their body was giving them signals, but they weren't listening to them, kind of the same way. That's my take on it.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's like a cultural bypass of the body, and we're out of touch with the natural rhythms
Yeah.
of our world and our bodies.
Mhm.
The simple tool I have today is to really just do this, to start checking in and asking, what am I feeling in my body when I face conflict? It could be tension, it could be frustration. Tension and frustration are clues. They might not be full blown anger, but tension, there's something your body's trying to express. And conflict is a really good way of getting our attention, the body's way of getting our attention, and also, I believe, our spirit's way. When conflict comes, it's a really important way. We learn through contrast. So, conflict, as much as our society doesn't like it and our nervous systems are scared of conflict, it's actually an important way to get our attention about what's not working or something that might be needing our attention. If it's burnout, you need to get your attention. So conflict will, or explosions will happen to get our attention to something. And we can be really beating ourselves up for something that actually needs to change. Instead of changing something, we go into blaming ourselves for exploding, and or we make up stories about the conflict being a bad thing. So the tool that I'm offering today is really easy. Just to start asking, what feelings am I feeling? And what might be underlying those feelings? Sometimes it's really hard to just, you know, notice. Can you listen? Can you listen to your body? Some of us actually find it hard to listen to the body. We've learned to, it's safer to disconnect. So just notice, okay, I don't feel safe to connect, and then start to explore anything you can do to just start removing excess energy from the body. So I have my book, The Empath's Guide, which can use that tool in that to start releasing excess energy. And ask yourself, can you be kind? Can you be kind to yourself? Or are you just too wound up that you can't do anything? So, those simple acts of noticing what you're feeling, what you're sensing, what you're experiencing in your body are a very important practice to start building back into your life. I know some people do yoga, they do meditation to sort of switch back into that practice. And if your work life and your life habits keep you so wound up you can't slow down, those things are wonderful things to start helping you just to switch back and start feeling and noticing what's going on in your body. So, Patty, what could be some other solutions at work to help people reconnect to their body, or just whatever they
Yeah.
need to?
One thing that I'd like to share is today I went to the chiropractor. I had acupuncture. It helps flow the energy through your body and it also loosens your muscles. But just laying on that table for a few minutes was very relaxing. And I stopped for a few minutes, for 20 minutes on that table, just relaxed. I give Reiki too, and just having the Reiki time or acupuncture time or meditating or just taking time out, you really listen to your body because you're with your body and you're feeling what's hurting or what's out of whack. So those are some tools that you can also do, is to take time for yourself, to really quiet your mind, quiet your body, and really feel what's going on in your body. Now, I'll get back to your question about work. Some things that you could do is ask for clarity instead of assuming. Assuming can be your enemy. It's okay to look forward and things like that, but you don't really know what that person's intent is. So by talking and asking questions, then you're not assuming you're getting answers. And that might help because you have some clarity. Request time before responding to feedback. This is really good because, especially in a heated discussion, there were times where I had to say, you know what, let's just take a few moments. We can discuss this later. And then when you get back with that person later, things are in a much calmer, much more willing to come to a compromise or come to a solution together instead of responding or reacting in an unfavorable way, because you've had time to remove, both of you've had time to remove yourself from the situation, and you can come back and calmly talk about it. And then you can listen to each person's point of view of what they're thinking, what needs to happen. It helps because you're not damaging the relationship. You're actually saying, let's get back together in a couple hours or tomorrow or something like that. And we'll discuss this and come up with ideas to solve this situation that's going on. And it does work.
Wow.
Another example is, let me reflect on this and get back to you. This gives you time to settle down before responding, like I said. I really think stepping back really helps because then you can think about, okay, what's really going on here? Or what's really not going on here? Because you're going to calmly talk to each other back and forth and say, well, this is how I was feeling. And they say, this is how I was feeling, or this is what the situation was. Oh, I thought it was this. And then you can come to agreement.
So let me reflect on this and get back
Yeah.
with you. It's a
Yeah.
nice script to have in your pocket.
Yeah. And it's polite. It's not, abrasive.
And so if you need more support with finding, maybe it's a script of how to come back in situations where you feel that frustration or potential conflict, or you don't know how to deal with conflict, you can always book a session with Patti and myself, and I can help with the body as well to really start building that practice of attuning to the feelings in your body. That's also in the Reiki that Patti offers as well, how to really start to slow down and feel, because our society is becoming more and more habituated to cutting off from those feelings that are really what get you through all of these relationship problems and feeling bad about exploding or having conflict and not knowing how to come back from conflict, or judging yourself for the way you respond or your patterns of avoidance. So now we're going to give you some reflection questions, and we've got 2 today. And these reflection questions, you can journal on them, and you can also use them as a starting point for what we've shared with the tools today. So the first one is, when conflict arises, what does my body do first? And you can have images, feelings, a memory. You might have a very specific memory, and use that as a starting point to notice, what does my body do? And then explore further.
And the next reflection question is, what old pattern might be showing up here? So just think about, is this something that's happened before over and over again? And what is it telling me? I think that's the most important part, is what am I learning from this? What is it teaching me? Is it teaching me how to respond in a different way or feel in a different way? Why is this happening?
Great.
And now I'm going to give you the affirmation for the podcast episode. I am learning to respond from the present rather than from the past. Repeat this when you're feeling that feeling coming on, and just repeat it several times and take time to really look at it, listen to it, journal about it. Am I learning to respond from the present rather than from the past?
This affirmation would help me as well if I was looping about
Mhm.
my explosion. I could reword it as well, depending on how I was beating myself up.
Mhm.
I love any affirmation that says I'm learning, because it just brings me into the fact that I'm not finished. I'm just in the moment experiencing reality and myself. And maybe, we're constantly learning to respond from the present. So it's quite a powerful affirmation. So in closing, we're going to leave you with some final thoughts about, can you be in the moment or with your body and feel what is going on for you? If you can't, don't blame or beat yourself up, even though your brain might do it. And you may need to practice. You might need to be in the moment and just keep trying this. If you go into beating yourself up, don't worry. That's just part of the practice. I also offer healing sessions that can help you with that specific habit. And you can also try my online movement class, which I'm launching again in Sydney, Australia time, Mondays at 7 p.m. I'll have the link in the description below. And the first thing to do is look at what you want. What do you want for yourself and your body in the moment? Really feel, okay, if you're looping and you can't really be with your body, that's okay. But then what do I want? If that can help as well sometimes. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes you need to just be with the loop and find a way out of that looping of the nervous system. Move your body, be with your body. The body doesn't just keep the score. It's waiting for you to experience what is it that state that you really want, the being present with your body in the moment. It's always responding to signals in the environment, and it's so attentive. It's actually designed, the body is designed to be really responsive. So if you start responding to your body, it starts to recognize that you're listening with care, then the body starts to be also responding with more care. So the irony is, the more we actually do self-care and listen to the body with love, it actually starts to move that forward, starts to be more loving. Instead of expecting conflict, the body starts to learn to look and seek for affirming, beautiful, inspiring moments that will nurture and give it the love that it's looking for. So our bodies are full of more resources than just keeping the score. They're just waiting for us to listen. And if you can start to listen to it, it starts to respond. And I really can't advocate for that journey more, because it's also what has filled up my life with so much joy. So
Well,
thank you for, listening to our bodies.
yeah, thank you for sharing that, Angela. That's the way we need to look at our body. Really look at it. In our next episode, we will explore what healthy support actually looks like in teams and in families. Angela and I want to thank you for joining us, and we look forward to the next episode with you.